Hello, and welcome back to the Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I am one in your army of hosts, Ambassador Michael,
And I'm Ambassador Jordan.
And I am Ambassador Kevin.
and welcome to our corner of the internet, where we have news about stuff. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Slight, upset stomach, but I'm living.
Good. I know you had a problem, let's say.
Almost came late to the show today, but it's fine. I made it in time.
Fair enough. He did not call out. Good news. And Jordan, how are you today?
Yeah, I can't complain. Been playing Resident Evil 5, just going through the campaign again, so it's been a tough few days. Been a bit emotional. Other than that, I can't complain.
Fair enough. I'm sorry to hear that you're playing Resident Evil 5. It's a tragedy.
Oh my goodness. Like, Resident Evil 5 was not that bad. It was in Resident Evil 6, at least.
No. Let me explain to you real quick before we get into the show. Resident Evil 5 was my first exposure to Resident Evil, and I literally swore off the series for years because of it. I was like, no, this game series is trash. I'm not doing it. And everybody else was like, no, you really should try the rest of them. And I didn't play another one until 6. And everybody's like, what is wrong with you? Why are you playing 5 and 6? Why is that the first game you're playing?
Exactly. Like 5, it had limited movement at least, so it kind of was still kind of hard, still like Resident Evil. But 6 was just like an all-out shooter. Like it was a straight up a third-person shooter.
It definitely was. I enjoyed 6. I know it gets shit on, and I know it's not a great game, but I enjoyed it because I played it co-op with Adam. So, and we had a good time with it.
That's like.
But
sorry, I was just going to say that's why I'm redoing number 5. I'm just doing it on co-op again on Game Pass.
Fair enough.
It is. I don't think it's a good Resident Evil game, but it's a good co-op shooter game. I definitely
exactly. Like there's 6. It's a good game if it wasn't called Resident Evil.
Yeah, exactly.
I would agree with that as well. So, anyways, now that the banter section of the show is over, Kevin, could you explain to these people how we get paid?
Well, we have a nice little Patreon page where you can get some awesome cool perks and goodies, like early access to shows, getting your comments, questions, and concerns read on the show, and exclusive content. If you would like to support the show and get some goodies, you can do so over there at patreon.com/ambassadors of gaming.
Thank you. Yes, if you would like to make sure that Kevin gets shoes, I have a nice cardboard box to live in, and I don't know what Jordan needs, but I'm sure he needs something. Let's get him a cup of coffee or something.
I need something.
You can do that. Yeah, exactly. He needs something to live for.
Exactly.
He needs to look forward to something. So
that sounds pretty depressing. That sounds really depressing.
That was way more depressing than I intended it to be. I was just gonna go about it, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, if you want to support the show additionally, you could do so over at Patreon, and we'll give you some goodies. So we can just now get into the updates, announcements, and other miscellaneous news. So there's 6 new games coming to Xbox Game Pass, as tradition dictates. The games coming to console are Ash's Cricket, Pandemic, Jackbox Party Pack 2, and Slay the Spire. Games coming to PC are Space Hulk Tactics and Downwell.
I guess the only thing that actually caught my eye is Ash's Cricket and Space Hulk Tactics, but other than that, this seems pretty mediocre to me.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Nothing really jumping out there. It's more other than Ash's
pretty meek.
Cricket, even. Everyone's going to be wanting to play that.
See, I don't know anything about Ash's Cricket, but I will take your guys' words for it.
Oh, I'm just joking. It sounds terrible, as does the games on there.
The name sounds cool, so I'm actually into it just because the name alone.
Fair enough. All right, well, on to the next one.
So, nice bit of news. Crash Team Racing is getting a new seasonal update, which includes microtransactions. Activision has announced via its official blog that the game will be moving into the new Back in Time Grand Prix, which is going to be offering new items for rewards by completing quests. Activision also went on to outline the updates to their Pit Stop in-game store. The store will be updated so that players can fast-track their Wumpa coin collection if they like, and these new microtransactions are scheduled to go live sometime in August. I think this is a bit of an interesting topic because, from what I remember, I'm pretty sure Activision promised that Crash Team Racing wouldn't have microtransactions in it. At least that's what I've seen going around on the internet. So it seems like quite an interesting thing to backtrack on.
What?
I'm interested to find that. Go ahead and discuss, Kevin, real quick while I look that up.
Well, Activision is Activision.
Yeah.
They'll say one thing and then it's totally go back to being Activision and be anti-consumer. So
Pretty much.
like if they actually did mention that they would not have microtransaction in this game, they probably was talking about something totally different. Like, and that would be loot box, but it might be something else. But you still got to put some money in there because we want money.
Right, pretty much. I'm not seeing any information that says they originally said that. I believe you. If anything, I would be inclined to believe that they said at launch there won't be any. But I definitely believe that you saw that somewhere, Jordan.
That's no worries. I've dropped a couple of things in the Discord. That's it.
Oh, did you? Okay, great. So yeah, let me take a look at some of this here real quick. Anyways, they not really a surprise that they do so because it's Activision. They want to make money. Also, they don't have any other games coming out besides this and Modern Warfare.
Yeah,
it's the only games coming out this year.
It was cool.
So,
I actually have the original Crash Team Racing on the PlayStation right now. I actually got it recently because like I was helping one of my friends move, and like she had like 2 PS1s and like a crap load of games, and she was like, "Let's take them." I was like, "What?" Like, do you know what games you give me? Give me Tekken 3, Tekken 2, Crash Team Racing, like all these games, and like I don't think she even know like the value of these games. So I just took advantage. I'm sorry.
Wow. Really living up to the ambassador's name.
It's called Ambassadors of Gaming, and I'm a gamer.
Those games were better in your hands.
They were better in my hands, and plus I have like all these original Final Fantasy games as well that I can't play. So it's good to like have a PS1 I can play those as well. So I was excited. I actually gave one of those PlayStation 1 to one of my coworkers. Okay, he was leaving to Tampa. So like, here's a PS1. How you got 2 PS1s? Shh.
Don't ask questions. Just accept my gift.
Accept my gift.
What was I gonna say? Okay, so yeah, I looked over this thing Jordan was saying, and it definitely sounds like something Activision would do. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where Activision does whatever Activision does.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, Activision lying is shitty, but like we know Activision at this point. Like, you really shouldn't be surprised that they want to add microtransactions into literally any game.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that like they shouldn't be called out for it, but also we should not be duped.
Yeah.
Like, I think we know better than that. So I think that's all I have to say on that. Yeah, Kevin, you can take us on to the next one.
All right. The PS Plus games for August have been announced. This month, players will receive Wipeout Omega Collection. Wipeout Omega does include a VR mode, so that's good if you have a PSVR. Sniper Elite 4, I'm actually pretty excited about that one.
Yeah, Daryl had some pretty good impressions of Sniper Elite 4.
Exactly. I think I watched that impression in video as well. That's when like, damn, I actually want to play this game now.
Yeah, he had good things to say about it, so I'm excited. This is actually a pretty good month. Like, I know we like usually like give PlayStation crap for like putting out really bad games, but like last month had the Detroit collection, which was pretty good, and then this month has Wipeout. I'm excited to get Wipeout. I could be wrong. I think I'm the only person in Ambassadors that has a PSVR.
I've got PSVR.
I don't think anybody else has one. You do or you don't?
Do.
Oh, okay, you do. All right, great. So you're the only other person we could really like discuss hands-on with. But like, some of the PSVR games are just straight trash.
Quite a few.
Like they're just they're terrible.
Yeah, I still think Resi 7's still probably one of my favorite ones on it.
Right, it's got to be easily one of the best. The Until Dawn game is pretty good, but it's short. And what was the other one they did? The Impatient? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that's supposedly meant to be pretty dire.
Yeah, I haven't done that one because I'm not trying to have a heart attack. So, like this, I think this one is pretty good. Like, as soon as they showed it off, I was like, this is the kind of stuff I like want for PSVR, is like racing and like stuff that's really just like immersive. There's we haven't discussed it much, but there's this roller skating game on PSVR, and it's really, really good. It's really hard, but it's really good. So good for PSVR because it doesn't get very many good games.
Yeah, like
so it's good that we get one for free.
I played Gran Turismo with VR, and I don't know, maybe because I don't really like playing racing games in a first-person mode. I didn't really like it. My coworker was like forcing me to play in VR. And all that stuff. Like, I played it. It was like kind of cool to like be in the car and stuff, but I don't like playing first person racing. Like, I really don't. So maybe this, my opinion. But that's like that, and like
Uh,
it was like some scary game I was playing. Like that was like the only two things I played in VR, and I just put that like he was going to sell it to me in VR for like $100. I didn't even want it.
Fair enough. Honestly, that I don't know how Jordan feels about his. I don't think we've discussed it, but like I I have slight regret about it. I'm not like if I went back in time and I was like, "Oh, I could just buy like I would have bought the new version of the PSVR because I have the launch edition and the launch edition sucks because it doesn't output HDR through the box and you can't just go buy a new box. You have to buy a whole new PSVR unit. So that kind of sucks.
So I only got mine
Especially
in
when
December, so I might have a newer launch, well, a newer
Yeah,
version.
they remove those. They don't sell those anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like once they announced it, they pretty much took they like whatever was on the shelf they sold. But like other than that, there's two SKUs. I don't remember what the SKU is, but yeah, my PSVR does not support HDR. So that's kind of a bitch because I have to disassemble it every time if I want to use HDR. So I just turned HDR off on my PS4. Like I just don't use it.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying.
All right. So like that's the only real regret because I buy games for it occasionally, but it's very cumbersome. It's a huge pain in the ass to have in your house. So
So I got mine as a
Yeah.
gift, and I enjoy it. Like I don't play as much as I should, but I also get like games to review on it, so that's been kind of good. Other than the fact I still don't have the Move controllers yet, so it's kind of a pain in
Yeah.
the ass. But the games that I've got, I quite like Zone of the Enders 2. That's a fucking weird game to play in VR. It's like
a lot of VR stuff is very strange.
Yeah.
Like it's very disorienting. But just on the while we're on the topic of that, the PlayStation Move controllers do make a huge difference in my opinion. In experience with VR, it definitely helps. I'll send you a thing because there's a charging station that holds like the PSVR unit and charges two DualShock 4s and two PlayStation Move controllers. And I use that to just kind of hold all my shit instead of having to put it in a box every time.
Yeah. See, I got
Um,
lucky. There's like a place called Hobbycraft, right, just near my
Okay.
house, and you get like mannequin heads. It's like a mannequin head, but it's made out of styrofoam, and it only costs
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
£9. And I didn't think it was going to
Oh,
work,
that's not bad.
but it actually holds the VR headset perfectly. So
Yeah.
so, like such a cheap investment, and it just keeps the VR headset sat up next to my game stand, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's the one thing that nobody tells you about VR when you buy VR is that you have to find somewhere to put the damn thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst part of owning VR besides the cords. But I think we've pretty much beat this into the ground, so we'll move on to talk about more PlayStation stuff. So Sony talked about raising PlayStation prices in the US. If you're unaware, the US is currently having some issues with tariffs and the discussion of tariffs in our would-be trade war with China. So during a recent earnings meetings, Sony finance chief Hiroki Totoki was asked about the tariffs, and he mentioned that the tariffs would be destructive to the PlayStation brand, as 25% of the tariffs would be passed on to consumers. He said, quote, "We believe and therefore have told the U.S. government that higher tariffs would ultimately damage the U.S. economy," end quote. Furthermore, Nintendo has moved the Switch and Switch Lite production completely out of China, and Phil Spencer from Microsoft has mentioned that the Xbox Scarlet's price will depend on the tariffs, whether or not they're enacted. So we discussed this a bit before. Chris and I think with Billy, this doesn't really affect. It will, but it won't affect other people in the world because if they have to move production out of China, it may become more expensive for everyone. But it may be cheaper than if the tariffs were enacted. So this is just like one of those really weird things that I don't like. We don't get political here, really. We don't really want to do that on this show. But this is one of those things where it's like it's very directly linked to gaming and what we're talking about here. So, I hope they get this sorted because it seems to be a pretty back and forth thing about whether or not they want to enact these tariffs, and it's gonna make a difference for us here because next gen's coming. Like that's for sure. Unless these tariffs make them go like, all right, we'll just push it off another year,
Yeah, and God knows if that'll actually happen or not. But then,
Right.
yeah,
Like
it's a tough one.
It's like
it's just
like a wait and see.
bad timing.
But I don't want to wait because I feel like our prices will go up. Like the Xbox Scarlet will be like $600 instead of like being 500, 400.
Right. Like that's the thing about tariffs. We discussed this pretty heavily, and I think it's pretty well noted. Tariffs generally get passed off to the consumer and don't affect the manufacturer. So ultimately, it's kind of pointless. The idea is that tariffs will enact a higher price, thus decrease demand. That's not necessarily the case how things work anymore. I doubt that the 100 million unit PlayStation 4 is going to have less demand because it raised prices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just a silly thing. So I don't want to beat that too much, but it is something that we have to keep talking about because the uniqueness of this. If it was just like, oh, video game console prices might rise up and like the cost of controllers and stuff might rise, like that would suck, but that's about it. But we're like right at the point where they're probably starting to nail down the specs and stuff for next gen. So they're gonna be manufacturing soon. And they kind of need to sort that out like right now. You know?
Be interesting to see what comes of it though. Hopefully some good news, or these tariffs don't get put in, because like you're saying, it might not affect them, but it's going to affect us. And yeah, it might not have a massive impact on the demand for the units, but I think regardless it would have some sort of like negative impact on them as a whole, because like if the prices skyrocket, then yeah, people probably will be more likely to hold on to current gen consoles as opposed to just diving right in.
Right.
But then it's like everyone says that, and then as soon as it comes out, they're like, "Yeah, I want it," and then it's a lose-lose.
Right. I'm very interested to see the conversion on this gen because of the back gen compatibility and because of the fact that people are very happy with these systems. I know the Xbox One suffered pretty harshly until they redesigned it as the S and kind of did all that rebranding. Mm-hmm. But they're doing really well now. I mean, they'd always done fine, but they're doing way better now than they were when the system launched. And so they're both in a position where it's like, clearly we saw Nintendo do this because Nintendo's like, all right, we don't really have to make any manufacturing changes other than like a new, factory. Like they don't have to go and redesign the console. They don't have, what I mean? None of that shit because the Switch is already the Switch.
Yeah.
The Switch Lite is already a thing that they've announced. Whereas the PS5 and Scarlet are things that aren't specified yet.
Yeah.
So they still have time to change it. So that might be where the hesitation comes in. So, anyways, we can move on.
But moving on to the next point, Arc System Works are planning to ban streaming Kill la Kill's game story mode. The company tweeted out that, open quote, all streams and uploads of #Kill la Kill If's story mode are prohibited indefinitely. However, you're more than welcome to upload and do streams of match footage. End quote. Stuff like this, I guess, isn't totally unheard of, and it's not something that I've not seen happen before. Like, I'm sure Nintendo had a similar stance on some of their content before. I can't remember if it was just a full game or certain aspects of games. I know there's quite a lot of games that normally block out like campaign mode and story modes or certain cutscenes. So it's not like a big shock. It is a bit weird, I guess, for a fighting game. Like, it doesn't seem like the campaign or the story mode would be something they'd want to totally hide, but I guess if there's a lot of also there would be potential spoilers, and I guess they want to hide that. But it is still quite weird that you can stream some of it, not all of it. But I guess it'd be interesting to see what you guys are thinking on that. Because to me, it's not a massive shock. Personally, I've not played the game, so I can't really comment much on that. Like how it would affect me, but it'd be interesting.
Sure.
If either you plan on playing it and got it, or anything similar.
Well, like Kingdom Hearts 3 has something similar where like the 2 levels where they had like the singing, you cannot stream that at all. Like the Frozen song and I forgot the other song. Was it like
the Disney songs, the ones that are copyrighted? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't stream that at all. And Kill la Kill is from an anime and manga, so maybe the game you might think it might be multiplayer, but it might actually be campaign focused, and they probably don't lose that any sales by people just streaming it or put it on YouTube. So they probably and not only that, Arc System Works. Like I've been a fan with them since like forever, since Blaze Blue, Calamity Trigger.
Yeah,
and they've always been kind of like not a low budget company, but a company that's not like really out there. Like they did Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and that thing freaking made like a crap load of money for them. But still, like all the games they made, they haven't really profited that much compared to like Capcom and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't blame them to try to like I don't want to say nickel or dime, but like at least make sure they can make some money out of this. Like they deserve more what they have, and whatever they do right now, like this right here, I'm not even mad. I'm a fan of theirs. I'm not even mad at all. Like if I can't stream it, good. I know I wasn't going to stream it anyway, but it's fine.
Fair enough. I figured this would be good for you guys in particular because again, you have that history with Archism Works, and both of you have more history and knowledge of streaming than I do. But this is when I was reading through it, only like two big examples stood out. There was the Persona 5 thing where they asked people not to stream after a certain point. Originally, they said don't do it at all, and then they moved it back to like you really shouldn't stream after this point because it reveals crucial plot details, and it really does. After playing it. And then they tried it with one of their other games. I can't remember what it was. It was a really long Japanese name. But generally, they seem to back off after this. My assumption, I could be wrong on this, but my assumption is that actually probably comes from whoever owns Kill la Kill.
Yeah.
Like the manga company or whatever, because I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably cutscenes in the game that are either going to be pre-rendered in engine or they're going to be manga anime. And if they're anime, that could be a copyright thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that is true.
That would be my assumption is that the whoever owns the copyright to them or the publishing or whatever is just like, we don't want people to stream it because I'm sure you guys have seen it. Have you ever seen the meme of the guy that streamed the UFC fight but pretended it was a game?
That's cool.
People, their IP, whoever owns Kill la Kill might say the same thing and be like, we don't want people to stream the show and conflate it with the game or whatever. Something like that. Maybe that's, I'm just trying to think of it from like I'm a company and I want to protect my stuff angle, I guess. So, but yeah, I think you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head with everything there. So,
all right, so I'll continue on then. All right, Destiny 2 Shadowkeep and New Light gets delayed until October 1st. Oh, that's basically it. About Destiny 2.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, there's nothing else really to discuss.
I was getting prepared. I was like, okay, this is my paragraph. This is my time to shine. And Nani?
And I literally gave you one sentence.
But how do you guys feel about Destiny 2 going free to play?
I'm okay with it. I've discussed it for a while. I even said that about not free to play, but I've always talked about even Call of Duty being split up into 3 separate games, being the multiplayer being its own section, and then zombies being its own game, and then single player being its own game. So like, I'm okay with them doing this. It really makes more sense, and they'll probably make more money. We've seen free to play works. Like for Warframe, it works. For Fortnite, it works. So. My thing is I don't care if it's free to play as long as there's a fine line. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the free to play section is basically everything up until Shadow or before the current season, right?
So that's not too bad. I thought it was just going to be the base game.
I thought it was a base game, not the raid or anything. I think maybe it's.
I believe it's the first 2 expansions.
Does that include Forsaken?
I believe.
Where's Chris at when we
know?
Yeah,
Chris definitely would know this off the top of his head. Like I said, I'm pretty confident that what you're gonna see is I'm double checking here real quick, but I'm pretty confident that the New Light includes the update, all the updates, and then sorry, I'm looking at it now. And then on top of that, it includes, what do you call it? Sorry, their site is like freaking out and not working properly because of course it is. Yeah, so let me double check this. But anyways, I'll get to my point, which is I think this is probably inevitable.
Oh, yeah. Look, New Light players have access to the Leviathan raid and its raid layers, Eater of Worlds, and Spire of Stars. I'm sorry, stars. I have a freaking Haitian sometime.
No, you're fine. Yeah, all right. So it is the first 2 expansions?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't confirmed. So yeah, you get everything up until the current stuff, but even then it's Destiny, so you can buy Shadowkeep for whatever $60 and you get everything that came before it. So as long as and they already changed the way the microtransaction store works. So I think things will be good. You can still buy stuff, but it's not nearly as useful as it used to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or not as like in quotes pay to win. So
no, see, just to go back there, were you saying Shadowkeep's going to be $60 to buy?
No, I would say Shadowkeep itself on its own is $40, I believe.
Jesus,
But
That's how it is in
expensive.
every expansion for Destiny ever since Destiny 1 always been like that. It'll be $40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mental. Like that's just like obviously I'm not a massive fan compared to some of the people that play it, so they probably don't mind paying because they'll know why there's a cost like that behind it.
There's no. We always get angry every time.
Yeah, like
like literally every time they announce it, people are like, "What the fuck?"
because I've got it
Like,
on both consoles, and I've got Forsaken on PS4. I got that as a gift, so I've got like some of the latest stuff, and I still like playing it.
Right.
It's like, that price for an expansion just doesn't sit right with me. Like even if especially when it's like this massive game that's meant to last for ages, because then you just know that's another few years to get in this type of stuff.
Right. I view it as like a yearly. I know it's like it's just something I've had to really accept, I guess, as like this is just how they make money. Like I'm more okay with it now because they're Bungie and not owned by Activision.
Yeah.
I was more pissed about it when it was Activision because I'm like, you make so much money off of this game. You could easily like make this $20.
Yeah, you think they would like lower, like if they're wanting more people to start coming in, like increase the like user base. You think they'd probably make it a bit cheaper. So like,
that's what they do.
Right.
Like they make the $60 for like say that in Destiny 1 they will have a new DLC coming out, and then the new DLC will also come with a base game for $60, and then the second year it'll be all the DLCs plus the base game for $60. But every time for us people that actually play the game since day one, we had to pay $40 every year.
$40.
Yeah.
Yep.
Versus newcomers that just got paid $60.
Which is pretty shit.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the thing that really like turned me off to Destiny originally was that like, because I played it up until like Taken King basically, and then at Taken King I just played it like the story or whatever and moved on with my life. But I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I get it. They need to make money. I would rather them do it this way than put in microtransactions personally.
Yeah. Definitely.
So at least now I know my money is going to Bungie instead of going to Activision. So, but it is one of those models where it's like World of Warcraft used to do it, but I felt like you get more.
Yeah.
Like the problem is that the balance of content for what you were paying was not always the same. Like the first two expansions were $40 and people hated them. They were both really bad from what Chris tells me. They were both pretty lacking in content. They weren't very good. And then they did Forsaken, which a lot of people like. It rebalanced the game. But they do the same. It's literally the same thing that happened with Destiny 1. Like beat for beat. The same thing happened. They had to come in with Taken King to change the game because everybody got mad about the way it worked. And then they came in with Rise of Iron before they released Destiny 2, which changed some more things and was pretty big, but not as big as Taken King.
Yeah.
But they also charged you less. So I'm assuming this is going to be very big for them. They've made it sound very big, very game changing. So I'm okay with that. But they also they're not going to move on to Destiny 3, it seems like, anytime soon. They're pretty content with staying with Destiny 2 and the platform it's on. It seems like they fixed a lot of engine problems with it. So at least your money is going to be, staying in one place. Your shit's going to all be there. So, but I'm going to move on unless you guys have anything else you want to say about it.
No, I think I've heard my concerns on it, but yeah, like I said, I'm not a massive Destiny 2 fan, so I don't have too much to
Fair
add.
enough.
Yeah, I'm a Destiny 1 fan, but Destiny 2, I just couldn't really get into it. Like, I felt I was too burnt out of Destiny 1.
I am 100% with you, Kevin. What I told Chris is when Destiny 2 came out, I was like, I will play just the storyline and the main quest stuff, and then I don't want to play anymore.
Exactly what I did.
Yep. I haven't touched it since I beat the main story quest.
I haven't done no type of endgame content or whatever. Nope.
Same. I'm not doing all that. I'm not. No. You and I spent like hundreds of hours in Destiny 2 or Destiny 1.
No.
Like,
I spent thousands. I spent 2,000
Jesus.
hours. Yes.
Holy crap. Yeah, you're way above me. I think the last time I had checked, I was at like 300 hours in Destiny 1.
Well, a lot of hours of me kind of cheesing, like sometimes, like in the, especially year one, like I'll leave my console on at the Vault of Glass right before like the chest, so that when it reset, like I'll still be at a save point, and so I had to do the whole radian, and like that kind of contributed to it as well, and all of a sudden I used to play Destiny. I had no life when Destiny 1 came out. I was playing that game every day.
I recall. I remember you were like one of the biggest fans of it. You It's funny because like the people that were the biggest fans of it are the people that really dropped off like the longer the game's been out.
Yeah, like
So
my name on Facebook was like Kevin Gallahorn Lemonnier, and then it was
right,
Kevin RP Gallahorn with like I think like year 2.
right when they killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. So they, Destiny is it's I think very unique. It's one of the I don't think there's really any other game that's like it, to be honest, in terms of like how that community has been and all that. It's very interesting. So, but I'm gonna move on then to the next point because we have a bit more stuff to get through still. So GameStop is continuing to die slowly and painfully.
Die.
GameStop lays off regional management as it continues to flop. The company has been continuing trying to start off its decline by laying off regional managers. If you don't know, regional managers are pretty expensive, so it makes sense. The company states it is part of their, quote, continued GameStop reboot transformation initiative, end quote.
It's a fancy
real quick before we talk shit about GameStop, the in-between transformation is completely unnecessary. Like you could have just easily been like, it's our GameStop reboot initiative. There's no reason to add that in there. But anyways, yeah, I know you guys don't have GameStop in the UK, but they own a company called Game. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a company called FC Game. There's plenty of game stores in the UK, unfortunately. Not the worst, but not the best place to go.
Right. To specify, you mean there's plenty of stores that are under the brand name Game?
Yeah.
Or you mean, okay, that's what I thought. But I just wanted to confirm for people who don't know, it's like a very confusing thing the first time you see it.
Yeah, it's like you can be like a 10-minute walk from one store and you'll be in another game store. It's ridiculous sometimes.
See, like that, it's not as bad here, but there was a section where Chris and I, where I used to live, before I moved to Florida, there was a mall, right? And there were 2 GameStops in the same mall. Like there was a mall, and then outside of the mall there was a plaza right next to it, and there was a GameStop in the plaza right next to it, and a GameStop inside of the mall. And I'm like, why? Why do you have 2 GameStops within like literally a half a mile of each other?
Exactly.
It doesn't even make any sense.
It makes no sense. I don't even understand the point. It's like surely one store would be enough when it's got like everything you need in it, because then if there's 2 separate stores and there's like different stock in each one, it's just becomes a pain in the ass, in my opinion. It makes things up.
It's so stupid.
If the man was there,
Painful
I don't
experience.
blame him, because back then GameStop was like the number one like retailer for games. So
They really were. To be fair, I stopped really going into game stores around the time they bought out EB here, because EB was my preferred place to go. And from what I recall, they bought EB, and the store that we used to go to, they basically just laid everybody off,
damn.
and just hired new people. And so that's why we stopped going there, is because we're, you know how it is with game stores. If you go to a local game store, you become friendly with the staff, whatever. Like that's the store you want to go to.
Yeah.
And so that was one of those things where that's when game stores are really like died off for me in terms of like whether or not I give a shit about them surviving.
That means me is like
because
oh, sorry, you go first.
No, I was just gonna say then that we went to this other store that used to be around called Game Crazy. They were owned by what was essentially a Blockbuster competitor called Hollywood Video, and they went belly up because game, video rental died.
Mm-hmm.
So when they died, Game Crazy died out first, and then Hollywood Video died out after that. And then ever since then, it's like literally the only game store you can go to is GameStop. So your option is go to GameStop or go to like a major retailer like Walmart or Target. And sometimes they don't have the game you want. Like most of the time they do, but like if you want like an obscure like 3DS game, you're probably not gonna be able to find it. So you have to go to GameStop.
Yeah.
So
It's a bit of a pain.
it is. So anyways, GameStop sucks. And like I kind of feel bad for the people that are employed there. Like that sucks. But it seems pretty obvious that they're gonna sink. Like they're pretty much done.
But to be honest, like at this point, you should be already looking for another job if you work at GameStop. Like I would not be sitting here like it's tanking and it's taking fast, and I don't see any fix for it.
Yeah.
Like GameStop, they could have been like a G2A or something, like hit more, go towards digital or something. I don't know. They're just on a sinking ship, and they don't really care. They lay off people, closing stores, but they're not really changing to the culture of today, which is digital. and all this
No,
stuff.
what they're trying to do is mimic those. I don't know if you have them where you're at, Jordan or Kevin, but there's like these. They're like anime stores in quotes. They're basically Hot Topic, but for anime shit.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to shift towards that, but like be gaming related specifically,
It's like,
and it's not gonna work.
Like all like merchandising, basically. Like
Yeah, they're just basically being merchandise. Just basically be Hot Topic. Just be the gaming version of Hot Topic.
that makes
Is basically their plan.
Because like when I went to California this year, I went to the GameStop the first time in forever. Like I haven't been to GameStop since high school, and I went
Fair
to like GameStop and like I see like a Kingdom Hearts Keyblade replica. I seen all these shirts and I see all these things. I'm like, what a game's that? You know, like
Yeah,
like
it's weird.
I have a Switch and I was trying to buy like a freaking game. I couldn't even find the games. Like all I see was freaking merchandise and stuff like that. But now I see that it makes sense now because who want to go to GameStop to buy a game now? You know, like dude, you could literally just go
Pretty much.
buy it digitally or buy it cheaper with Best Buy and Gamer Lock guys can, but before they had that running for them and Amazon Prime, 20% off.
Yeah, that was really what killed it is Amazon Prime for me. Like I literally stopped going to GameStop. I just bought everything on Amazon for like 2 years. But real quick, I think one of the big things we don't talk about is the used game market in terms of that was GameStop's bread and butter, right? But now if you want to buy a used game, you either buy it from a friend or you just go on to like Facebook or something. Like you just, Craigslist, game, Facebook, something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier
to find the game.
Like pre-owned games, like
cheaper.
you're saying, at a cheaper rate. That's a downside as well. Like I was touching this earlier. Basically, like where I stay in the Glasgow city centre, there used to be a gaming store called GeForce, and they were quite. Okay. They weren't like, I don't think they were like exactly making amazing deals that could put like game out of business, but they always had games in early. Obviously breaking the law by selling them early, but that's what gave that store the enticing factor to let you go to it. It was similar to game in the way that they weren't just a game store, they had the merchandise and they had a lot of retro consoles, and now they're basically closed. Unfortunately, they had to shut down, so now game's the only store that's open. And it's like you're saying, like when you go there looking for like either pre-owned games or obscure games, it's really difficult to find them in stores like that, especially without a hefty price tag. Even like, I don't know if you've got CEX, where you're from, but that's the store in store in the UK as well, and they're normally quite good with pre-owned games. Like sometimes I'll just go in and I'll pick up games from like previous generations that I've not even really been like looking for ages. Sometimes it'll be like 50p for a game, and I'll be like, I can just go in the backlog, and I will just build up the games from there. But even like I go in there, and every time I'll find Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 on the GameCube, two games that I really badly want to add back to my collection, and the price tag is £20 to £50 on each of them. So it's even things like that, and that's where I think game stores, even game in particular, like they know the value of what they're selling, they know the value of retro games, but they never used to push on it that much. You could still go in there and pick up some older games quite cheap, but now more people are becoming aware of the value. It's becoming so hard to pick up good pre-owned games, or at least good valued pre-owned games. I just find it so disappointing, because I'm a sucker when it comes to games like that, and I spent £50 on the GameCube remake of Metal Gear Solid, and that was also pre-owned, quite old at the time. I've got quite a few games I've done that with, and just knowing that it's getting harder to find these games at a good price is just...
There's a pain.
Yeah. I guess good price is what you define it as, because you might be willing to pay that £50 like I have in some cases, and other times you can find a game it's rare, but it's not as rare as what they're pushing it for. I just think that's so disappointing.
Right.
So you're saying, like, it's just so hard to find like even like pre-owned games or just obscure games, and you're getting left with these stores that don't have the stock that matches the demand that you've got, I guess.
Exactly. We don't have a particular store like that. I mean, not in the area that I am in now. In Cleveland, we had something called the Exchange. That was like the kind of local chain that it was all pre-owned. Everything they had was pre-owned stuff. It was basically Goodwill, but for games and movies, and they did everything though. I mean, anything that was like physically on a disc or a vinyl or anything, they took. And that was their entire business model, is they take stuff you don't want, they give you credit for it so you can buy other shit that's old that you want, or whatever, And they sell new games too, but their bread and butter really is like used games, and like you go in there and it's just walls and walls of like older stuff. So we have stuff like that, but we don't have anything that's even close to the range of GameStop or Walmart or Target here for that. particularly. Like each area has their own version of that, but you have to find somewhere that's like a specific used game store.
Yeah.
Like I found one the other week by accident because I was looking for a card shop or whatever, like a month ago. And I stumbled upon them because they were in the same plaza. And I was like, okay, cool. Because I forget they had one of the Digimon World games. Because I've been looking to kind of complete Digimon 1, 2, and 3, but they're fucking expensive. Like they're really expensive to buy. I got lucky when I found Digimon World 2 because it's the least preferred of that trilogy. I paid $60 for it.
Wow.
Like, it's always a sore one, isn't it?
Yeah, it was $50 when it originally came out. So, you know, it hurt a little bit, but honestly, it was a win for me because I got it. It came with the manual. It came with all the all the artwork in the jewel case, and the disc didn't have a single scratch on it. It looked brand new.
Yeah, that's good. It's good when you get a game at that price and it's still like in really pristine condition. I just hate when you spend like 60 quid and you get it and it's just covered in like scratches, the case is dirty.
Beat to hell, yeah.
That's another thing, like this is totally off topic, but I think it's worth mentioning. You might have it in some of your stores as well, so I don't know why this bothers me, but game in particular, don't know if GameStop do this, but sometimes like you can go and buy a game off the shelf, it's brand new, and you're picking up the dummy case from the shelf and you'll take it to the counter, and then for some weird reason, instead of just giving you a nice freshly sealed game, they open the dummy case, they take a disc out of like a poly sleeve and then just get their fingerprints all over it, bash it in the case, then have the cheek to seal it with a security seal and then give it to you. And
GameStop does it too.
I just hate that.
Yeah, GameStop basically does that.
Like,
yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, it's like there's been so many times where I get a game and I just see them touch it and I have to bite my tongue and saying, just put it back, I don't want it. And that sounds really petty, but I'm really fussy with getting, like pretty much all my games have no marks on them unless they're strictly pre-owned, or I've been like stupid enough to drop it. I'll never like leave discs out. And stuff like that as well that makes it harder to want to go to these stores because there's just like the total lack of care from people that you would assume to be similar minded to yourself. Yeah, like it just annoys me like this. You get like game cases that are absolutely tatty that have been touched by everyone who's been in that store pretty much to look at them. And it's like it's like sometimes I'm sure like one time by the time I got the case home it was like total sliced on the back and I didn't even notice, and it's like sweet. So now it's like it's an embarrassment to have.
That's awful.
I just feel like they shouldn't even sell that as new. They should might as well sell it as used. Because usually used, at least at GameStop, is like $5 less, which is stupid.
Yeah, it's like there's like it's dumb.
Yeah,
they'll sell it for $55, and it's like I'm not honestly like we went back in the day when we were like when a lot of us were penny pinching kind of before we got like better jobs, like that $5 would matter, and some of us would buy them that way, but. Like now it's like I would rather just pay the extra $5 and get it brand new.
Exactly.
Like, and like I know Jordan, you're more on the physical side, but that's part of the reason why I go digital as well, is because I'm like, at least then I never have to worry about my disc being fucked up. Like I know that's like not appealing to a lot of people, but it and like we were talking about it, like the PS1 discs, those black ones are super sensitive.
Yeah.
So like if you scratch them, it's game over. They're done,
I've got a few of them in my collection that are just absolutely tatty, and that's just because like they're the games that I can't get anywhere else, and I've struggled to find. Like I think I got Abe's Odyssey 1 and 2. Probably got actual proper names, but I'll just say that for now. And I'm sure like they're not too bad, but it's like the condition they're in. It's like you're saying, even if you're paying that and you get it in like a really bad condition, and within a couple of weeks it doesn't work, or it doesn't work straight away, it's kind of gutting because then it's your word against theirs. And yeah, I can see why the digital aspect can be more enticing sometimes. I'm just a sucker for physical editions.
Yeah, we've discussed this plenty of times on the show that I don't know about Kevin. I think Kevin's more split. Right? Is that correct? Am I correct on that assumption? Where like if you get a game physically, it happens, but you don't really care.
No, I'm like 95% digital. The only games I buy physically is because they had like an awesome deal. Like I got Metal Gear Solid 5 physically because of the fact that it came with an Xbox controller. Well, we bought So I actually bought 2 of those, and I bought games for PS4 physically because I'm not really the biggest PS4 fan. So I was on my Xbox. Xbox like to switch games. So, like boom boom. They digitally.
Right.
But PS4, I write like I might beat this game, I might sell it, I might get to somebody else. Like I usually buy all my PS4 games. Like PS4 are actually 50-50. But Xbox, like I'm like 99% like digital. Like, I'm just lazy. So I don't trade in games on my Xbox at all. So like, I'll just play a game, like have people over and like, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So I see both sides of it, but I'm kind of in that retro. a while ago, probably a couple of years ago, I bought a PS2 again, and I got the big fat one, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a bunch of games that like I remember that I liked playing as a kid, and I want to buy some of the ones I didn't get to play, and of course, all the ones I didn't really get to play were super expensive. Um, I have all of the Dragon Ball fighting games. Well, the ones I consider mainline ones, the Budokai 1 through Tenkaichi 3, and
What was the favorite
I
one?
think I paid like, yeah, Budokai 1 through Budokai Tenkaichi 3. So I owe all six of them. But like Tenkaichi 3 was $60. But it was $60 and I got the manual and the game wasn't really scratched and it was in good condition. And it took me like literally months to find. It was the only one I was missing that I was like, I could have bought it online, but it was like $120. dollars
Yeah.
So, I totally get where you guys are coming from with that. The used game market really like is pretty fucked. Like we kind of need to figure out what's going on with that, because you go to it's not like cards. I don't know if you guys are any familiar with trading cards.
Yeah, I've had my fair share in collecting and
like Magic,
buying stuff. Yeah, like Magic.
Yeah, like Magic. Yeah, it's like a set standard. You're not gonna really see deviation too much. You might see a couple cents here, a couple, a dollar or so here, but it's pretty much set on terms of price. If you go store to store to store, it's not that way with used games at all. You could go to GameStop and it'd be like $45. You go to the mom and pop store down the street, it's $35. You go to a different one, it's $20.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, it's a thing our community hasn't really dealt with that we should probably get on doing. So
there's the power of like individuals as well that can become quite greedy with what they get. It's like saying earlier, it's like you're saying, you could go to a store and find a used pre-owned game that's quite rare. It could be £20. Go onto Facebook trying to see if you can find a deal on the same game's going for like 80 quid, and it's just like, why are people like this? I can understand why,
right?
But it's like, it just makes it so difficult when there's actually people who are genuinely wanting to buy these games for a collection or the likes, but then you get a lot of people that are holding on to the games without any intention of ever like using them or even collecting them for like a genuine cause. They're just holding on to it because they know that one day they can punt it for more money than it's worth right now. And then they decide how much that value is at the time. And there's always someone that's willing to pay it, unfortunately, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, that honestly, it's just one of those things where it's like if the demand is there or whatever, you want it bad enough.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wanted Digimon World 2 so bad, but I can't just, I like the eBay prices for it were like $100, no jewel case, no manual, and the disc was scratched to hell. Like I was like, I'm not going to pay $100 for that.
Yeah, it's insane.
So, and then I bought it for $60 and I got the jewel case, the manual, the art, and the disc, and none of it was scratched. So like there's no consistency there,
Exactly.
So
it's disappointing.
But I think we've had a good enough conversation on that for now, so we could probably move on to the next one if you would like to get going on that.
Yeah, so to move on to the next point, No Man's Sky Beyond gets a release date. The mega patch has been announced to be coming into the game on August the 14th. So for those of you that might have missed it or don't know much about this, the patch includes PSVR support, a new online component that will include a new social and multiplayer experience, and just also let you know the update is not transforming the game into an MMO. Basically, the studios want to confirm that there's not going to be some sort of subscription service, microtransactions or the like. This DLC is free. I think I've spoken about No Man's Sky in my opinion on the entire thing before. I'm not a big fan, purely because of what happened at the start. I think it's still quite good to see that they're still putting this much effort into it. Like obviously it's not like the game launched badly and they've just decided to throw their toys at the pram. I think even to use an example, a game like Agony, that's probably one where it wasn't the same story, but the game launched terribly and that was it. It's just dead. Whereas
it was dead. Yeah. Like on arrival, dead. Yeah.
Like No Man's Sky, at least like they failed to meet some of their promises. They didn't quite deliver what they had said, but they have stuck to their word and they are still like working at it. And I think that's quite good to see, and especially like with the PSVR support. Like also, as I said earlier, I've got PSVR. I don't know if I'd repurchase No Man's Sky, but just knowing that there's like that extra incentive to come back, like if I do decide, even just for the PSVR support kind of aspect alone, that's probably the only reason why I'd repurchase it, because it's not like a massive game and it's not got keeps going on. But I think like being able to explore the universe they've created in VR would be quite interesting, and especially with the new updates they've got. But I guess I'd like to probably turn it back onto you and see what you guys think on that. Like, do you think this new patch is not I wouldn't say enough to bring it back or enough to bring it into the spotlight, but what do you think on the patch and PSVR support? Do you think that's a good thing? Or do you think there's just beating a dead horse just now?
Well, I think it's a great thing. I don't even have a PSVR, but this thing about playing a game like No Man's Sky with PSVR support sounds like an amazing thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of similar like if Minecraft was on PS4 or PSVR. I think that'd be like it's quite a chill game, quite basic, but it'd be a lot of fun in VR, I'd say, and that's enough to like bring you back.
I don't know how much you're familiar with it because I don't know. I was desperate when I got my PSVR to find new games to play on it, so I just searched the store like endlessly to try to find something. Mm-hmm. There's actually a game that is a Minecraft ripoff in VR.
Oh, okay.
So and it looks really, really good. I'm not gonna pay for it because it's just a Minecraft ripoff. Literally the only difference is you can play it in VR. I think you actually have to. But
what's the name?
I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up while I'm talking about it. But I know Jordan played No Man's Sky. Did you play No Man's Sky, Kevin, or no?
I didn't. Even when it came to Xbox, I don't know. Like I think at the time it came out, I was really, really busy with work, so I didn't give it a chance.
Fair enough. And just based off of what I know about you and your preferences, I didn't know if that was really gonna like hit the mark for you. I don't know if you're really interested in like space exploration or anything like that. So that was part of the reason why I asked, because I wasn't really sure if that was like something you were even interested in.
It's like I'm not against it. It's like it's whatever to me, you know. But think about it in VR, it might be interesting, you know.
Right.
I mean, sometimes that's all. So that's like that inclusion of VR can sometimes make a game so much more than what it was. Like even if it's like a really simple implementation of it, it can be quite interesting, and sometimes that can be what makes like the VR unit more sought after, or even just a game. But it'd be interesting to see how in depth the VR is and kind of like what that adds to the table. Because like I guess comparing it to Minecraft, like those are games that you can maybe not No Man's Sky because I can't comment on it because I've not played it in a while, but like you can get quite lost in these games quite easily just due to how expansive the universe around you can be. And I think that in No Man's Sky could be quite interesting. It'd be cool to be like you're saying, going around in a spacecraft, sitting in the cockpit with your VR headset on, looking about. That would be quite cool. But yeah, it's tough to say. I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, like to add on to what you were saying, like when the Samsung Gear first came out, my brother he purchased one. And he purchased, I think, like a S8 or something. I forgot what phone was at the time.
Right.
And like I don't really care for soccer, but they had like a way that you go actually watch a soccer game live in VR, and it was amazing. So it's like
that sounds
VR because like it could like make you like things that you don't really care about. So that's how I felt about No Man's Sky. Like I don't really care for it, but in the VR version of it makes you like super interested. You know, like I'm thinking about getting VR now.
Yeah.
Right. My thing with PSVR is it's I treat it the same way Xbox One X enhancements are. You know, like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Like it's just like a nice thing that they do. By the way, I found that game. It's called Discovery, and it's made by New Wanda. It has 3.5 stars.
Cool.
And it's whatever. It's like 12. It's $12. So like it's not like crazy expensive. It's just one of those things where it's like if you really want Minecraft in VR, there it is. But anyways, so PSVR support is just one of those things where it's like, this is nice. It's nice that I own this game already. I own PSVR. I'm glad that I can do this. That was honestly the big contributing factor for Dreams for me. The reason why I ended up purchasing Dreams is because they're like, we're gonna do a VR mode. It's not there, but we'll have one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's really enticing to me because Dreams is basically just a game engine platform, so I can just have what is potentially like an almost limitless amount of VR experiences, you know, based on things people make. So that was what enticed me to even buy Dreams. So sometimes it is a selling point. Sometimes it is super important. I think one of the things we miss with the No Man's Sky thing all the time is the fact that we let Sony skate by way too easily on that one, honestly. Like a big chunk of that is also on Sony's head that they just didn't take any responsibility for. Like, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of examples of what happened there with Sean Murray and all that kind of stuff. But at least you see in retrospect, based off of what they're doing now, that they genuinely believed in that, and that's genuinely what they had an interest for. Mm-hmm. But at the time, we didn't know that. You know, we just were like, this isn't the game you said it was. And now it is, but, you know, it took too long to get there, in my opinion.
Yeah, it took way too long. That's only.
But this is, yeah, in my opinion, this is kind of what they probably envisioned. Like, this would be my guess what they envisioned from the start. But the problem was is they needed more funding, and Sony was. My assumption is that Sony came to them and was like, "You need to shit or get off the pot with this, and we want the game out, and we're not going to fund you anymore until you do." And that's kind of so. I don't know if you guys know how much you know about Sony or people in the audience, but Sony's very aggressive with IP. So when they fund something, 9 times out of 10 they want to own it, and if they don't own it, they have less of an incentive to actually like fund your game.
Yeah,
they'll do it, but they don't really want to. Like, they would rather just own the IP for whatever. Like, they own whatever it is, the order.
Yeah.
So, so that's all you have to say about that. But, so the PS4 thing is just nice. I have No Man's Sky because Chris and I have discussed it many times. The three of us, our other friend, Justin, Chris and I bought the game day one, and we all hopped in a party, and we were all very frustrated with it at launch. And we never traded it in because we're like, why are we going to trade this in? The trade-in value was like $2.
I traded it in.
Like,
I felt bad.
Yeah, I don't blame you. With agony, I sent it back to Amazon, and they charged me like a $30 restock fee. Jesus. So I only got like a $10 refund on that game. But I was like, I don't even care. Take it back. Like, this is trash. I don't even want it.
Yeah.
So, with this, it's one of those things where it's like, I have it. I'm gonna review it, I think, ultimately when it comes out, because we're kind of in a dry spell until the end of the month. So I think it'll be good content.
I think that's everything for that point, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much safe on that. Now we can go into talking about EA, our favorite publisher.
Yeah, so continue on. The company seems to want to skip publishing on Switch as they believe that consumers will rather play on those systems. And I think that's like the most horrible reason to skip the Switch. Because a lot of
like pretty bad. It's like, come on. It's like, so you're just gonna cut out potential like fans or like consumers just because they want a console that you don't want to publish for. Like, I guess that's like, it's up to them then, but there's probably a lot of people that would play their games on the Switch if they had made a good effort of actually making them play half decent on it.
Just because it's portable, think about it. Like, if you have the Madden on the Switch, I could play that with my friend at work. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's portable. Like, yeah, I have an Xbox I could play as well, but you don't make the decision for me to choose where I want to play your game at. It's
Yeah, it's like, seems unfair just to cut out like potentially what could be a large like user base purely because like, oh well, they've got other consoles, so just use that. That reminds me of like the whole Diablo thing. Like, oh, do you guys not have phones? It's like, wow.
Yeah.
They could have did what they did with the Wii U. At least like a lot of the developers actually was investing in the Wii U at first, the first year, and then it failed. And like, okay, at least it failed, but they're not even trying the Switch, and a lot of other companies are going with the Switch with a multi-platform game as well, and it's still working for them. So why EA is like, okay, I'm just gonna make my games for Switch because everybody have an Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. I just feel like that's like a very, very lousy excuse. I just think that they already know like their quality games are not the best. And people just, I don't really understand how EA is still afloat to this day. Because the last few games they made were just straight horrible.
It's straight up just their sports game. Mm-hmm. Like if the NHL, FIFA, and the NFL were like, no, we're not gonna let you publish our games anymore or whatever, like that's it. In my mind, that's it. Like, EA is not gonna be a multi-billion-dollar company anymore. Like they'll make money probably, but they're not gonna be like in the echelon of Activision, Ubisoft. Like, at least Activision and Ubisoft can stand back on, we have good games. I mean, they also monetize the hell out of them, but they have good games. EA just doesn't. The only thing they have are their sports games. So, but I agree with you. To me, this comes across as just lazy,
basically.
I'd say so,
because the only EA game they make, the only true EA game that they actually publish on Switch is FIFA. And it's not even real FIFA. It's like a light version. It's called FIFA Lite or something, right?
FIFA Shine.
Yeah, basically. So like, it seems like, okay, we just don't want to have a team do this. It's probably a bitch to do because Frostbite sucks. So, they're like, why even bother? But
I think it goes back to saying, like, if they just made a good effort of actually fucking, like, not even just porting, but, like, if they made an effort, like, it is obviously more money, more effort, more time, but if they put that into the game, it'd probably do quite well on the Switch, because I'm sure it was, like, there was issues before where, I think it was maybe FIFA 11, I might be wrong, it's FIFA something anyway, it was maybe on the Wii U where it got released, and it was just really bad quality on that console, but it's like, if they just put in the time, even if it's not as extensive as these other platforms, but it's still a solid game, people are going to play it. Especially
it just has to be decent. Yeah. Like, doesn't even have to be amazing. It just has to be decent. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Like Kevin said, he'd be willing to play Madden on Switch, even if it was a lesser like experience, just for the ability to play portably.
Exactly.
But it's, I think it's fair because I think, I could be wrong, that they used to publish Madden on Vita. So like they didn't do it forever, but they did it a couple of times. So it's not like they don't have interest in making Madden portable. And I'm sure it's not like Madden is not this game that's just like, oh, like it can't possibly run mobilely. Like you've had Madden since like PS2, So, and the Switch is easily as powerful, like almost on par with the PS3, Xbox 360. So like it could handle it. It just wouldn't look pretty. So I don't really know what their problem is. Here's the thing, like we talk shit about EA all the time. And like EA likes easy money, right? Like that's why they have microtransactions. But they refuse to do things that take bare minimum effort to do something that would actually make people happy. Like they're the only company that doesn't re-release or remaster games. They just won't do it. They have one of the best franchises from last gen, Mass Effect, and they're like, no, we're not going to port it to current gen. We're not doing it. Why? Why are you not doing that? You would literally make a shitload of money.
Yeah, like, I think that'd be a
it doesn't make any sense because we want to focus on the future. Yeah, we want to focus on the future of our shitty games. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, come on, man. Like, I get it. BioWare doesn't want to do it. Okay, fine. So hire some studio to do it. Pay them a couple $100,000 to port the game and make millions just off of remasters of that series. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people would want to play Sims on Switch. Like, that's the biggest thing they want from EA. Is Sims on Switch. And they could do it, but they're not going to because apparently that's too difficult. So
you think that would be a really good game to do it on, eh? Like it'd be like they've had The Sims on the goddamn DS. So it's like, and that like I remember the Sims game that I played on the Nintendo DS. I thought it was totally amazing, given that I was a child at the time. But still, like I think there would be a large fan base on the Switch that would totally love and appreciate games like that. But like you're saying, it just seems like a lazy excuse to get out of that additional cost where they'd probably still make more money than they'd put in, I'd imagine. But like I said, there must be some reason in their head that they think it's a good idea. And once again, to avoid remastering like games that could clearly bring them in a lot more money as well.
Right, like people want Dead Space remastered.
Oh man, I love
They're
that.
not gonna do it. Right, exactly. Like the first time I played Dead Space was through backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, this game's really, really good. I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks pretty good on, even for being a last gen game through backwards compatibility, but it could definitely use a touch up, and people on PS4 can't play it.
Yeah.
At least as far as I'm aware, unless it's on PS Now, but nobody really uses PS Now is not nearly as popular as Game Pass. So
yeah, I think it's a shame that they killed off Dead Space because my example would be looking at Resident Evil 2 remake. And I know it's very different because there's a massive gap between when the two games came out. But even just like you're saying, redoing Dead Space, that's a game that could bring them in a shitload of money. Or even not even just a remaster or reboot or just continuing it.
Upres some textures or something. Like like you could literally put in the bare minimum effort. It could just be like, oh, we updated the lighting and the textures a bit. Because like that game really only would need a lighting thing because of how dark it is.
Yeah. It'd be the minimal effort to make that game look even better, you'd say, because I'm sure they've done it with Gears of War 2, like obviously different company, but like they put the 4K textures on it, and to be fair, like you can get that for free when you buy some of the games, or you get that on Game Pass. But it's like even that would still be really cool to see.
Right, but they just I don't know. I think that's why everybody gets so mad at EA, because it's like these very obvious things that we are asking you for. We're telling you what we want, and you just don't want to do it. Like, even Activision is smart enough to do that. People have been asking them for a Modern Warfare remaster for whatever, and they did it. Like, they're like, this is easy money. Let's do it. You know? So, I don't know. EA seems to be more than content to just like
not listen to their fans.
Yeah, just like piss off the people that pay them. Like, why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, like I said, you know, I'm not sure EA could survive without their sports licenses. Honestly,
yeah, I think
they would have to. They would have to be like EA Originals would basically have to be something they like change and be like, okay, well, we'll just buy your studio or whatever, you know. Because like I said, I'm not confident they can make it on their own. Like their incompetence in so many areas is so frustrating. Like the only good game they have coming out, even possibly, is the Respawn game, the Jedi one.
Yeah. Be interesting.
And then after that, what do they have?
Nothing really.
Dragon Age 4 that comes out in like 3 years.
Yeah, my thing,
you know,
when you say that, like, I actually haven't heard anything like new and interesting that's coming from them, other than like you've said, the Star Wars game. And even then, it'll be interesting to see if they manage to butcher this, which hopefully they don't.
Right. Oh, they have the Need for Speed game coming out this year that they refuse to show anybody.
Is that a remaster or a new?
No, it's a new one. It's a new one. Oh. Yeah. They just sort of like, oh, we're going to make a new Need for Speed, but we're not going to show it off at E3.
Oh, I just realized.
We're going to show it off at Gamescom.
I realized EA actually remastered only one game, and it's actually one of my favorite racing car games ever. Burnout Paradise.
Is that Burnout?
Yes.
Yeah,
oh
Burnout.
My God.
No, that's such a good game.
That game is a freaking masterpiece. And I forgot, that's like the only game that actually remastered that I could think of.
Fair enough. I'm looking through real quick, and like, I'm looking at their studios. So they have... and you guys might know more about these than me. So BioWare, which makes, you know, the RPG stuff. Yeah. They did Anthem, pretty shit. They put out the other one. What did they put out? What was the other one? The Mass Effect one that was shitty? Andromeda? Or something?
Andromeda and Dragon Age Exhibition. Well, Dragon Age period.
Yeah. DICE. I forgot about DICE. So yeah, they have DICE. Cool. DICE makes them a shitload of money. That game, I don't think so. Like
well. Battlefield have not really been like the topic of discussion in a very long time.
Yeah, it's not as relevant as it used to be. I would agree with that. Motive just helps studios make games. They have PopCap, which basically just makes mobile games at this point.
Yeah, Plants vs. Zombies. Like I know at least Plants vs. Zombies in mobile is like making a killing for them, but Plants vs. Zombies 2 kind of fell off the map.
Redwood Studios, Respawn, and then the rest of these I think are support studios. You know what I mean? That just help make like FIFA and shit and Madden. I'm pretty sure Fire Monkeys is a mobile studio as well. Yeah, they are. So they own a shitload of mobile studios and studios that support them creating sports games. Cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure that's a good basis for your business, but they're making billions of dollars every year. So what the fuck do I know? You know? So anyways, I think we've beat EA's head in enough for one day. So I'm going to move on so we can beat in somebody else's face. The ESA has leaked personal information of gaming pundits that attended E3. So 2,025 visitors of E3 have had their personal information leaked online. The list of personal information was accessible via the website through a download link. The ESA, the Entertainment Software Association, told GameIndustry.biz that they, quote, regret the occurrence, end quote, and have removed the link. However, the list had the names, home addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, and publications where they worked of pundits, streamers, financial analysis, and investors. The ESA issued an additional statement about how they were sorry the information was leaked and took the appropriate steps to remove the list from their site. I did not write it in my script here, but this list is basically the list that all publishers and developers use to try to get people to come see their games and like schedule appointments and stuff. This is like the thing that they have access to. So yeah, they basically doxed a bunch of people, so that's pretty cool, and they're probably going to get sued. So
hopefully. That's meant like just saying, oh, we're sorry, we regret the occurrence. And it's like, yeah, well, you've just leaked like thousands of people's data and like God knows what people can do with that. Like, obviously, probably still quite limited, but I'd be pretty annoyed if my data got leaked to potentially millions of people. And even if it's as simple as a phone number, that's enough to cause a lot of hassle for anyone.
Right.
Especially when we're talking about streamers here and like online personalities. As soon as someone gets the number, obviously you can change it quite easy, but it's still a massive pain. And saying you're sorry.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have to do that. Your information should be secure enough. Like, we discussed this a bit before the show, but we wanted to save it for now. Basically, we've seen in the last couple of years that people that want to hack into systems are a lot smarter than they used to be. And clearly the businesses that contain this information or hold this information don't do a good enough job of securing it, because we've seen just in the US, Capital One recently, they had their stuff hacked and lost the information for pretty much anybody who applied for a credit card between 2005 and 2018, I think they said. And that includes your home address, your phone number, your social security number. So like all of this personal information that's super important to, protecting your identity and, verifying who you are.
Yeah.
And they basically are preemptive. They're doing something to deal with the potential nature of a suit. And they said, we're sorry this happened. We're providing free credit reporting for everybody that's affected. It was like 160,000 or something that like the worst of it happened to. But like pretty much everybody in between that time span got their name and home address leaked.
And they're offering you a free credit report. And
right. Like you're going to monitor. Basically, like, okay, we're going to monitor and make sure nobody's doing, like, fucked up shit with your stuff or, like, your identity's stolen. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but, like, you couldn't protect my information in the first place. Why should I trust you to continue to protect my information?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
it's like, what, are they also trying to say, like, in regards to that, if you then get negative... Well, not negative. Well, if you get anything on your credit history following this, are they saying they're going to rectify that or not? Because if not, then those words mean nothing and it's not good enough.
Right. Basically, they're going to be like, okay, we're sorry. We're going to inform you if anything happens. But it's like it's almost, you can almost certainly link that back, which means that's a totally different type of, I don't know how UK law works. So I'll try to just explain as much as I can for US law. Those would be two different instances if you were suing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would be two different, you could apply it in one case, but it would be two different charges, basically, of accusations you're making.
Yeah.
And so you would say, okay, you leaked my personal information. That's one case. The second case would be, I had my identity stolen because you leaked my information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
that makes sense.
Those are two different things. And so, like, yeah, credit monitoring is great. This happened with Equifax. I don't know if Kevin's checked, but I was affected by the Equifax thing. Equifax is a company that does all the credit stuff, blah, blah, blah. So if you have student loans, you apply for credit cards, you have a mortgage, like they're one of the ones that people run your credit through. And so I got affected by that. And I could be wrong, but they were sued. They lost the suit or whatever. They were told by a judge to pay. And they're only paying like $125 or doing the same thing as Capital One, offering free credit monitoring.
That's insane.
And I'm like, that doesn't help me. If somebody steals my identity, opens a bunch of credit cards, and then doesn't pay them, that does not help me, because now I am going to be told that I'm responsible for whatever amount of debt this person accrued in my name.
So that's what's happening to me just now, and that's why I have a really biased stance on the topic, because I've been getting chased to pay someone else's debt, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Yeah.
They literally just it's just a case of mistaken identity. It's not even that somebody stole your identity.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
like the company just found my name and pinned it on me, and like, yeah, the entire topic's pretty bad, but I want to take action against them, and I'm looking into that now.
Yeah, I do not blame you at all, because it's like, it's harassment. Debt collectors are very aggressive for those who haven't dealt with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a huge pain in the ass. And so like, the problem is the ESA does not have anything they can offer in return. You know what I mean? Like the best thing they could offer is like, okay, we'll give you free passes for the rest of your life or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only compensation thing they can really offer. But like don't get me wrong, like nobody's gonna, their stuff is not gonna, they're not gonna have to deal with identity theft. But we know all the time when we hear about people getting like death threats and all sorts of like crazy shit over the internet. And great, like now some asshole can just show up to your house. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's
You know?
ridiculous. It's like they act like it's not a big deal, but it could cause so much hassle for you. And maybe not right now, maybe not even in the next few months, but even like years down the line, you could find out that like that information has been used and your data has been breached even further, and you've got all these things against your name, and you've had no idea about it. It's just mental.
Right. I don't know, dude. They really gotta like sort this. They're gonna get sued, I think. Like that's pretty inevitable.
Yeah.
Like it's very obvious what happened here. They pretty much screwed up, released an internal document. I don't even I read through the story, the original source that I pulled for, and I really don't even understand how it happened in the first place. Because I've worked at a lot of companies that have internal documents, and this was a Microsoft Excel document. It wasn't a Google spreadsheet. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like a live document.
Yeah.
And even if it was a live document, a lot of people put their live documents into a secure platform. You know what I mean? Something that's more like encrypted. I think Microsoft Teams is something you can use that offers live documents, basically. So it's like people remove the ability you have to go through multiple steps to get to a document with sensitive information usually.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they just botched it pretty fucking hard on this one. And real quick, since we're on the topic of when we talked about the microtransaction thing earlier, one of the things that people are really mad about the Crash Team Racing thing is I don't know how it is in the UK or in Europe. I know you guys have PEGI, but we have the ESA, and the ESA is not required by law to mark things, right? So it's not required by law that you be over 17 to buy an M-rated game, but you can't, so if a mom and pop store wants to sell you a 17 and up game, it's not illegal for them to do so. It's just like against policy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So traditionally, they put microtransactions on the box of a game. But now what they do is they release the game and put the microtransactions in after the game's been released. Which means your box doesn't say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your digital versions do, but the game itself, the box doesn't. Unless they update it, which I'm going to assume they're not.
Yeah.
Because it's Activision. So
it's so frustrating.
And ESA knows this shit.
Yeah, it's just
so it's just right. So anyways, the ESA kind of sucks. So they what was the other thing they do? Oh, they've been trying to defend the loot box stuff here in America.
The special surprise mechanics.
Yeah, the surprise mechanics. Surprise. Yeah. We were shitting on the ESA for a good minute here. So, do you have anything you want to say about the leaks and stuff like that, Kevin? Or are we good to move on?
We're good to move on.
Okay. Sounds good.
No, moving on to the next and final point. Rockstar North apparently does not like to pay their taxes, which comes to a shock to nobody. A report by TaxWatch has recently come out regarding how Rockstar North has been avoiding paying corporate taxes. The report claims that even though Rockstar North reported £8.3, roughly $10 million in profits, it did not pay any taxes due to UK's Game Tax Relief Programme, a programme meant to encourage British game design. A big factor to this, according to the report, is that Take-Two, the publisher and parent company, takes most of the profits for the games themselves, and thus are exempt due to arm's length standard in international tax law. The report states that they do not believe is justified in doing so. So yeah, I guess I'd like to see what you guys think on this point as well. I'm still quite fresh to this topic, but I guess in any topics in regards to gaming, it's pretty shady when they do not pay their taxes, considering how much money they're making anyway. So it's like, surely it's the least they could do. Everyone else has to do it, so yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, if I have to pay my taxes, you have to pay your taxes. Like, I don't think anybody should be above paying taxes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if one has to do it, then all should. And it's like, I guess just with they make quite a lot of money on this. It's like, it's only fair, because then if not, they're pocketing so much and getting even a bigger amount for literally I guess I'm rambling on there, but my stance is just pay your taxes. Everyone else does it. You're not special. You don't deserve any reason to be exempt from doing so.
Especially when your taxes, like the amount of taxes you have to pay will be like more than what I'm covering. Like you can cover more to help out more things in in the States or wherever you're from. So I just feel like this does not refer to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that as well. I'm taking a look here because there's a bunch of studios and stuff that they own, because we were talking about. So let me see. Yeah, okay, so Rockstar North is considered under the Rockstar Games label, which they own. So they do own the game, but because of however the international tax law works, basically because there's that in between of like, okay, Take-Two owns Rockstar and Rockstar owns Rockstar North. And they're like, we're going to take all of Rockstar North's money. They're like, well, yeah, we can't really tax you because you're far enough away from it. I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. Such a bullshit excuse.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just stupid. It's not fair at all. Like
Yeah.
anyone else.
right. Like, we're expected to pay taxes, and a lot of people who are in the upper echelons of society pay taxes when they can or where applicable, but they're also taxed at a lower rate than us usually. Granted, they probably pay more in taxes, but they're still taxed at a lower rate than us. So to them, like, there's a very big difference between us who are, standard people. I would say we're probably all like, in the lower middle class. We're not like all rich as fuck, but we're all paying our bills, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a little bit of change on the side to kind of, indulge in our hobbies and go on vacation, stuff like that. We're expected to pay, like, I think when I calculated, it's roughly about 15% is what I'm paying on my income. And that's not a lot, but that also, I know it's different in the UK. You guys have different taxes, different stuff like that. But like in the US, that doesn't account for my car insurance. It doesn't account for my rent. It doesn't account for food. It doesn't account for my health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance. Like, it doesn't account for any of that. You know what I mean? So like, even here, it's like, okay, so, you look at it, maybe I'm taking home about 15-20% of what I'm making, and that's what I have left over to, like, screw around, have fun, set aside whatever I want to do with. That's the money I have set aside.
Yeah.
Whereas like these guys pay whatever. I don't know. I have no idea what the percent bracket is. Let's just say it's the same. Say it's 15%, right? 15% of like $10 million is totally different. You still have millions of dollars of shit you can do with every month or every year, where I have like 10 grand, like, it's two totally different conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So like, not taxing, like, I don't like taxation, period, but I think we've pretty much formed our societies around it to the point where we need it, and it's going to be difficult to remove it entirely. So if we have to do it, it should be fair for everybody, and it's not fair that they get to make millions of dollars and not contribute back to society.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, it's a big problem in the US too. It's not particularly the UK. I thought it particularly was so interesting with the UK because they seem to be, like, I know this is going to be very anecdotal, and to people in the UK probably not seem that way, but like, they're way more like on the ball with shit, like governmentally wise. Like, I know that's terrible to say, but our government doesn't give a fuck, like, at all. like they do not care. They don't give a single shit. At least in the UK, they're like, hey, I don't know if you should be doing that.
Yeah,
like, that's the most they're gonna do, but at least they're like acknowledging it exists.
Mm-hmm.
In the UK, or in the US, it's like, what's the problem? So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, it's shitty, but it's a political issue. And again, we don't try to get that in here, but like,
yeah,
this is very tangentially linked, and it contributes to the fact that we talk about many things like crunch and all that sort of stuff. And like, don't get me wrong, most devs are paid pretty well, but even then, we heard about QA testers that work at Activision that make $13 an hour in LA. I don't know how much you know about LA, Jordan, but LA is one of the most expensive cities in this country to live in. And $13 an hour barely makes it well enough for me, who lives in a somewhat major city, but nowhere near the cost of living of LA.
Yeah.
So
I remember you saying before, like on a previous episode about that, and it's ridiculous.
Right. It's like the standard of living or whatever, like, it's not, and the excuse Activision used is like, well, that's not our fault because we work with a contract company. Yes, it is, because I know how contract companies work, as do most people who live in Florida, because that's really the only way you can get work here.
Yeah.
Unless you know somebody. And the contract that is set up with the employer determines almost always how much the hourly rate of the employee is. Like, that's almost always in the contract for the contract worker. Like, they pay, whatever, hypothetically, let's say I'm making $13 an hour in LA, right? They're paying the contractor $15, $16 an hour for me, right? So, like, they do set that term. And that's why we're saying it's such bullshit, you know? But I don't want to go too hard into it. So, you know, unless you guys have anything else to say, I'm all set on this one.
No, that's fine with me. I think I've heard my points.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you have anything you would like to plug before we leave?
I like to say, screw Kingdom Hearts, Unsplain.
Okay.
I have to do this every episode I'm in. I have to bring up my hate.
The episode expands from an hour and a half to 2 hours instantly.
Right. We're gonna break here and start a new recording. Part 2. Okay. What? But anyways, I understand where you're coming from. We are planning a Kingdom Hearts 3 thing. It's just that we've been it'll come at a point. It's too triggering right now. It hurts too much. All right.
The game came out beginning of this year.
The wound hurts. So, all right. I guess before we go, we will let you know a couple things. Jordan and Kevin do stream every now and again. We're kind of getting it set up to allow hosting with Jordan, so that automatically you can see his on the Ambassadors of Gaming Twitch. However, he also has his own accounts under Crispy Singer, if you would like to follow him there. Kevin streams under the Ambassadors of Gaming Twitch channel, if you would like to check him out there. It's pretty sporadic at the moment, but it is something where we're in more discussions of kind of upping. And of course, we have other plans in the coming weeks here for some new shows, stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, sharing any of that algorithmic shit you can do would be great, because algorithms suck. And unless you're popular, it's like high school. Unless you're popular, they don't care about you. So, you know.
So true.
Anyways, until next time, I'm Ambassador Michael.
I'm Ambassador Jordan.
And I'm Ambassador Kevin.
And we will see you guys in the next whatever we do. Goodbye.